This DVD is for staff and volunteers who have infrequent contact with children and young people, and or parents and carers who may become aware of possible abuse and neglect. This may include, for example, librarians, GPs, opticians or dentist receptionists, ground staff or caretakers, cleaners in hospitals or leisure centres, hospital porters or court ushers, environmental health officers, housing maintenance staff, catering staff or staff working in adult services such as drug and alcohol services. This is to help raise your awareness of safeguarding, so you know what to do if you are concerned, and to ensure you know that you have a part to play in safeguarding children and young people through identifying possible problems in a wide range of family situations.
Someone might be concerned that physical injury has occurred to a child or physical abuse if, for instance, they saw unusual or unexplained bruising or injuries to part of the body. Most people dealing with children, of course, would obviously see their face, perhaps arms, but perhaps not other parts of the body. As most people would know, children who are active often fall over and injure themselves, so it may be quite acceptable to have injuries to the forehead, nose, chin, elbows and knees, but in some of the other parts it may well raise suspicion, especially on the face, around the ears or the eyes or the soft part of the cheek. And I think somebody would be suspicious if, on asking a parent or carer, they were not able to give an adequate answer as to how that's happened.
If you saw a father in a swimming pool with their child and actually you could smell whiskey on their breath, you knew that they were stumbling and they weren't in a fit state to actually be safeguarding their child in that environment, that would be a cause of concern, and that would be something that you passed on. If you saw a parent who was struggling with their own mental ill health, it may be just a blip. It could be a family bereavement where they are not continually unable to cope, but for that limited amount of time, they just need some support. And you may well pick up on that in your conversations with them.
The signs of emotional abuse can be quite subtle and difficult to pick up. But children and young people who have been emotionally abused, especially over a long period of time, may be withdrawn. They may have quite extreme and unusual behaviours. They tend not to trust other people and are suspicious of them, and may, in teenage years, for instance, get into almost self-abusive behaviour, including substance misuse, alcohol abuse, and even self-harming behaviour like cutting. In younger children, emotional abuse often results in poor behaviour, but difficult relationships. So there may be difficulty in bonding at school or at nursery, for instance, and they may show signs of high anxiety, very fearful about getting into certain situations and not able to relate either to situations or to people.
If we look at the areas of child development, we get really concerned when a child misses a lot of schooling. So as a receptionist, if you notice when mum comes in maybe to collect prescriptions, the child's with her all the time and it's during the school day, that should be actually noted and of concern. If the mum is bringing them in frequently with continuous runny noses, if there is nothing really medically wrong with the child, we should be concerned about them. If they won't allow the child to experiment, to play with the toys in the reception area, actually why won't they allow them to do that?
Many people would be very worried about finding that there has been sexual abuse, but often there's very little to either see or to pick up from a child unless a child or young person discloses that something has happened. But the signs and symptoms we can look out for are fear of going home, worry about getting changed, for instance, in front of other people, behaviour that may be quite aggressive, showing that there's an inner anger that's come about because of the sexual abuse. And in young children, there may be a recurrence of wetting or soiling that previously had not been a problem, but there's a regression in behaviour because of the sexual abuse.
If we look at the family and environmental factors, it may well be a bus driver overhears a 14-year-old girl talking to her friends about being forced to go back to her homeland. We don't know why that is. We have forced marriages, and actually that has to be reported. We have people talking to people who have just been put out of work. That has a huge stressful factor for the family and may well lead to some support being needed for the child and the family. It's looking at, when you're collecting things from the house, is the house in a fit state to actually be lived in?
Whether children and young people come from poor families or well-to-do families, there are still things that we can look out for that would raise our concern for neglect. We do have concerns about children who regularly turn up, let's say, to school with inappropriate clothing for the weather, with unkempt hair, grubby, and perhaps lacking personal hygiene. Younger children who have suffered from neglect often show a slow development. They do not keep up with other children of their age in various areas of development, and especially in speech and language. That may be an early sign that the family or the carers have not been responding to them and speaking to them. Another sign in older children may be failure to attend appropriate medical appointments. So teachers or other professionals may become aware that a child has a medical condition such as eczema or lice in the hair, and this is a recurring problem that seems to be getting worse and worse despite carers saying that they are aware of it.
The nation was shocked by the tragic death of baby P. The toddler died on the 3rd of August 2007 at the hands of his mother, her partner and their lodger, despite the fact he was on the Child Protection Register. In March 2012, Daniel Palka died of a head injury at the age of 4, following a period of sustained cruelty by his mother and stepfather, which saw him being starved, beaten and force-fed salt. These cases are all well known as a result of the publicity they received, but some 50 to 70 children die in the UK every year as a result of extreme abuse or neglect.
For some of the children that you may come into contact with, it may not always be easy to have the conversation with them that you would. They may have English as an alternative language. Their disability may prevent them from you understanding them clearly. This shouldn't prevent you from acting on what causes you concern. And you should never, ever be able to put your bias, your prejudice in the way of the needs of the child. When a child is telling you something, they will follow their own script. You have to listen to what they're saying and react in a positive and encouraging way for that child.
If you have a concern about a child or young person, you need to discuss these through with your line manager or the designated safeguarding lead for your agency. You would need to make clear notes about the concerns that you have, what you've seen or heard, and then to consider whether you need to make an inquiry to the Multi-Agency Safeguarding Hub. The Multi-Agency Safeguarding Hub, or the MASH as it's called, is a group of professionals from various agencies who have worked with children, including police, health, education. We work together to consider the concerns that have been raised through the MASH inquiry and to make a decision that it's appropriate for that child.
One of the potential outcomes following an inquiry to the MASH would be signposting to early help. This is when we recognise that a child or family may need some additional support and have a need that's been identified, but that doesn't meet the threshold for social care involvement. So early help is about coordinating agencies who are already involved with that child or family, or asking additional agencies to support them in some way.
If you have concerns and need more information or support, you can speak to your line manager, your designated child protection lead, the multi-agency safeguarding hub, Children's Social Work Services, the Devon Safeguarding Children's Board website, South West Child Protection Procedure website, and documents what to do and working together.
All of us share responsibility, not just the paediatricians or the police or the social worker, but all of us share that responsibility.
The government very clearly stated a few years ago that everybody in society actually had a responsibility to the children within our care. It's all our duties to make sure the children grow up being happy, healthy individuals, and they contribute back to society what we would like them to. We can't now just turn around and say, this is social services, this is education's fault. We all have to be a part, a big society, to make the life of that child fulfilling.
There is an increasing acceptance that looking after children who are by definition vulnerable and the future of our families and country is a responsibility for all of us, whether we have children of our own or whether we are sharing in care of those children. We all need to take that responsibility.
It's vital that everyone knows that they have a responsibility to make sure that the children in Devon are safe and thriving.
It only takes one person to note something that's not right and to do something about it that could make a huge difference to that individual child.
As an employee, volunteer, neighbour or friend, if you are concerned about a child, don't hesitate to talk to someone about your concerns. For information about who to contact, please go to the Devon Safeguarding Children Board website, or you can telephone or email the Multi-Agency Safeguarding Hub. The Devon Safeguarding Children Board website contains a wealth of information and materials for parents and carers, workers and volunteers, children and young people. There is also further information about training opportunities available in Devon.